Yeah. That and live music capital of the world. I think those two things are super important to hammer down on.
So, do you feel that the motto fits? And why was it important? Why is it important?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, this is your, yeah.
Okay. I know I'm leading it, but I'm also happy to share space and responsibility. Well, okay, so let's start with something that you had talked about before, Ian, that we've talked about in other podcasts, just kind of on a very light level, and that would be our, I would say, Austin mascot, Leslie. Now he is no more, so we don't have Leslie to rely on anymore. But Leslie, when was he around? Like, when did that start? Does anyone know? I don't.
Maybe
I bet the internet knows.
I was here in the 2000s, so I definitely knew that Leslie was a fixture.
Okay, I just found on the Google that Leslie was in Austin 96 to 2012, and he died in 2012. So that would explain that. So Leslie was this character, I believe. He was, I guess, biologically a man and would dress up now and then in like very loose drag, like definitely not drag what we expect today, with sometimes like a wig, and then he would wear a thong and then just go biking around town. And I'd say Leslie was a friendly person. It wasn't like it was cool to see Leslie. It was almost like a good luck omen if you're like downtown and Leslie's cruising by while you're hanging out. And yeah, so him dying in 2012, that was, I don't think his like departure necessarily impacted Austin per se, but that's kind of when Austin really started to skyrocket and things really started changing, like 2012, 13, and 14. And I think a lot of times when people think of Keep Austin Weird, they think of that old, grimy, funky little town that Leslie was a big part of. And a lot of that is no more. It has been polished and refined. And like that texture that existed has kind of been wiped away.
JD, did you know Leslie, or did you ever meet Leslie?
Yeah, I definitely saw Leslie around because I attended University of Texas in the 2000s. Like, I'm actually high school class of 2000, and quickly went to UT. And yeah, he would be downtown. And coming from a small military town, that whole downtown Austin scene and all the entertainment districts, I thought was extremely weird. And the things people would do on the weekends and all these music festivals and Leslie on a 6th Street and people just doing the college town thing. That was definitely weird to me. I think weird also has like a connotation of like an underdog, like not a mainstream city. You know, it's this live music and college town and a little bit of politics. That was weird. And then I think economically, would you say it started catching up to major cities, the tech scene?
Yeah.
I mean, I could make an argument that Elon Musk is a little weird, but
super weird.
I think some people wouldn't count it as Austin. But he wouldn't count as Austin weird. Or he's not.
No.
He's a transplant and it's like it's Tesla.
He's a genius, and that's weird in its own right.
Yeah, but it's not like live music capital weird.
Definitely not.
I mean, he did date Grimes, which was, if you ever listen to her music, that was very.
But that's such a not a topic when it's Elon. That for like other public figures, that's like a big deal, but for him, it's like not even.
Well, he has multiple kids with the woman.
Yeah, he's got multiple kids with a lot of women.
Yeah, he believes in populating the earth. So with Leslie, as I was looking it up as you were talking about it, like, so me coming from Chicago in 2015, I remember, or it was 2014 when I first came and spent time in Austin, And I don't know if I ever saw Leslie himself, but I know that I saw people like this where they were, I'll say, scantily clad, wearing things that aren't what I would consider the social norm from where I'm from. And so, yeah, you see heels, bicycles weren't even ridden a lot, but Austin kind of catered to that, which is also important. It's an important point when you talk about Austin, that you can get so many places walking or on bike. It wasn't always about, driving 30 minutes, which is what a lot of other major cities were like, I got to be within 30 minutes or an hour because I don't want to drive that far. And you had people that were walking everywhere. The animal head on top, like it was definitely what I would call weird for me.
Super weird.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was Leslie per se, but I saw a lot of people that were like that. And then I believe that, well, I would assume, I don't know the answer to this, but I remember there were naked bike rides, and that became a staple of Austin. Every year there was an annual naked bike ride. And my guess is that Leslie was one of the people that proponents for that, right? It was just a celebratory freedom. Austin is a well-known topless city, right? And so the naked bike rides was just more of, with Hippie Hollow and the topless city and Leslie, I think it all just kind of ended up being a thing that you did.
Mm-hmm. It definitely had more of a hippie vibe to it, and that was more prevalent, I guess you could say, at that point. And a lot of that hippiness has really washed away over the last few years. Ian, you said, yeah.
I was going to say, have you been or heard of, I'll say heard of so that you're not incriminating. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Have you heard of Eeyore's birthday party?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So for the people that are newer to Austin, that might not be a thing. Or maybe it is. Maybe that is a staple. But that's absolutely something that you need to know about Austin, Texas, if you're coming here. Don't you think?
Can I say something about that?
Please, yeah.
Yeah.
So actually I have two things to say. Okay, one, Eeyore's birthday party. I remember people being super excited when it was going on. Like maybe it was the friends I had at the time versus now. But I do remember that being more of a thing at that point. And now my boyfriend moved from Dallas like a little bit more than 3 years ago, let's say 3.5 years ago. And last year I got some notification on social media about Eeyore's birthday party. Yeah. And I told him, I was like, oh, I guess it's Eeyore's birthday party next weekend. And he goes, who's Eeyore? I said, oh, like the red donkey from Winnie the Pooh. And he goes, oh, is it his birthday? And I was like, oh no, it's this big like pot fest. Like people just go and like get high and walk around downtown. He goes, oh. And then like didn't really think about it and like changed the subject. Because I think it's just kind of lost some I think. I don't know. I've honestly never been. So I've not like, I can't compare it to like, this is what it was to this is what it is. But he's not the only one. I've had a similar conversation with other people as well.
I've attended in college.
Sorry, JJ, what were you saying?
Were you saying Eeyore's not from Austin?
No, I mean her boyfriend.
I'm sorry,
Daphne's boyfriend. Yeah, right? Yeah, so that's kind of the point of the discussion, right? Somebody that's not from here or didn't. I don't know if it's research is the right word, but like that is part of the culture and the vibe of Austin. When I was looking into coming here, I'm like, oh my, I don't know what this is, but it sounds like people are having a good time. And I've not been either. That's not really my thing, but I don't think that there's anything wrong with people enjoying themselves as long as they're not causing a danger. Go ahead, have fun. And so that vibe was weird to me, but I appreciated that it existed.
Totally.
What were you saying, JJ?
Also, because I attended Eeyore's birthday in college, so this is in the 2000s.
You were the MC. Cool. You're like
it was on
master
April 20th.
Of ceremonies.
Sorry, you cut off a bit. It was in the birthday party was on April 20th.
Yeah.
Also, like a disclaimer, like I'm also associating that 2000s Austin. So also myself a couple decades ago, which was a younger self that was very about Central Austin and the festivals and Eeyore's birthday. I don't think I would attend some of that stuff now. Eeyore's birthday they maybe like South by, I would go to more music concerts, but now I'd go to a South by panel or like watch an interview.
Bad.
Yeah.
South by
So
panel.
yeah, it's weird, but it's weird's a funny word right now, but it's hard to gauge. I'm interested. I see the young people from my observation, they're definitely into like different things. I've seen bougie looking scenes, and it's just not that hippie. It's not the hippie scene that I used to see that was more prevalent.
Yeah, it's not. And then Ian mentioned something. You said that there was a lot of bike riding before. And then there was. Do y'all remember the pedicabs?
Yeah, they're still around.
Not as much.
Yeah, they still have a few.
A few.
I mean, I've seen the self-driving cars too.
Yeah.
I think the pedicabs were slowed down a little bit through the pandemic. I think a lot of things shifted through the pandemic, but I remember that was pretty vibrant, especially holiday times, right? So if you look at when like the Zilker Park Light Festival, the Holiday Light Festival, that there were pedicabs all over the place, right? But if it's 112 degrees outside, I wouldn't want to be the pedicab operator personally. Or on a pedicab with no shade.
Yeah. And now we have the option to Uber. Yeah. Back then we did not. Like
Uber was kicked out of Austin.
Yeah, for a minute.
Yeah, for a minute. You remember that? And then Austin had their own
like 2013
little ride share companies.
Yeah.
I can't help but think about the economics too, because as fun as a pedicab is, and sometimes you get a peddler that has like a cool radio and maybe a microphone or something. Sometimes I think to myself, I got to tip this biker a lot more. Maybe I should just take an Uber because of the market. I don't know. Or this is me being old again. I don't know.
That's really funny. And we could talk about people asking for tips also, but maybe that's
that's how I process pedicabs now.
That's funny.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
They're fun.
So just kind of a little throwback. Austin is the top Texas city for naked bike rides.
What year was it published?
And I less
2023.
Like this is currently a thing that Austin has been known for at least a decade and longer, I'm sure. But this is a very prominent Austin thing.
I don't hear about it.
Say it again.
I don't really hear about this, but
and that's what I'm saying, because I think, I don't know, but there's got to be some kind of association with the Leslie vibe and the naked bike ride, right? Because this is, like you said, it used to be kind of a hippie culture, and is that waning some where this is no longer a thing that people know about, or is it like JJ said, and we're just getting a little older and we don't that's not our thing?
Yeah.
I've seen some of that. I've seen some of the bike rides.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've never gone, but I've seen it.
I feel like that would be wildly uncomfortable.
Sure.
It's just I'm really thinking about the details of it. And
almost anything without clothing is wildly uncomfortable. Almost anything.
I mean, anything that has to do with the elements and another structure.
Sure.
Aside from water.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no, I know. Sand, twigs. Think about
Forget it. No.
Bugs, Texas bugs. Oh no. Now I'm out. And with that.
So that concludes our podcast for today. Just kidding.
No, we're just getting started. So I had mentioned the keeping it weird. What was the other one?
Oh, live music capital of the world.
Live music. Yeah. So do you feel that we're still relative there?
Can I let JJ answer? Because he used to live downtown for a long time. Not to put you on the
spot. Downtown for I lived downtown for 12 years. I would say South by was the coolest music festival, because if you were to get into a venue, it's different from a ACL or a Coachella, because if it's downtown, and if you could get into a venue, you have a private concert, and it's a smaller, more intimate setting. I think South by puts a stamp on it for the year. And of course, we have ACL. We still have we still have the venues, the entertainment districts. I think the old school 70s Austin person would like the Willie Nelson feel. And he's not like an Austin native, but he's like adopted, right? That's the Willie Nelson story. Correct me if I'm
I
wrong.
think that's correct.
Yeah, he's more like
if he's adopted.
into
I don't know
Austin
if he's
culture.
adopted.
I have to look into that, but he's definitely associated with Austin and has, I think 2nd Street's named after him. Some Willie Nelson Drive of sorts.
I think so.
So, yeah, I think it's still there. Have y'all been checking out concerts lately?
Yes.
Usually I go to a lot of venues that have outdoor stuff, but I haven't been going to any major concerts.
Well, that's kind of the thing. It's like, I feel like if you want to see live music, you have to go to an event. And there's plenty of events and there's plenty of concerts that are happening, but I feel like it's more rare to just be walking around and you walk by a restaurant and there's live music going on in there. That seems to be happening less and less. And we did kind of talk on this last time. And I think you guys made a really good point that just the cost of living has gotten so high and a lot of the artists can't afford to live in town anymore. So a lot of them just go away elsewhere.
Are they in different venues? Like, are they in like Round Rock? Have y'all been checking out those scenes? I don't know. Or maybe it's just not enough, vibrant commercial space to have a band in Round Rock.
Yeah, it could be. I know this is a little bit of a sidetrack, but Bastrop has a farmer's market, the 1832 farmer's market, every weekend. Super cute. If anybody likes farmer's market, it's like it looks like a farmer's market out of a rom-com. It's like really well done. It's not some random people showing up with some handmade things and then just hoping to sell them. Like, it's a very structured, really, really well put together thing. Anyway, all that to say, they have live music there every weekend and it's local artists and the vibe there is awesome just because they do have the live music. And it's usually kind of country. Yeah.
See,
we found something. Bastrop.
Well, yeah. As you were pulling it up, as you were talking about it, I was pulling up this past year's South by schedule just to see like what the energy was like, what kinds of people were there, what kinds of shows were taking place. There were a lot of cancellations, which is kind of unfortunate. So I guess I'm curious if anybody watching this has gone to a South by recently. The last South by that I was at was just before the pandemic, which is, yeah, I know. What do you mean? Ooh. Yeah, no, it was a little bit ago, right? And ACL's coming up. So if you are thinking about, like, if you're in Austin or you're thinking about visiting, I guess my question to y'all would be, do you think people should come and experience Austin during one of those music conferences? Or do you think that's a turnoff these days? Like, does that still embody Austin? So should people come to ACL if they've never been to Austin and spend the week here?
That's a really good question.
I think so.
Go for it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because maybe pull up the lineup.
I did.
Because
Dua Lipa, Chris Stapleton, Blink-182, Teddy Swims.
Yeah, there's something to be said
Tyler,
about
the Creator.
the lineup.
There's a lot of people here.
Yeah,
but also a lot of smaller names that I haven't heard of, like Mr. Wives. I don't know them. Molecular Steve. Like, there are a ton of people I've never even heard of. So I think that's kind of the point, right? Is that it's not only headliners. It's people that have this incredible talent to share, but they're not as well known. The fact that you have to have layaway plans, though, for ACL tickets. Yeah.
It's a good option.
Yeah. So Mark K is leaving comments. He said, is the increased heat every year causing there to be less informal venues? What do y'all think about that?
I was actually thinking about that earlier. That being
I would
outdoors.
bet so.
What's that?
I would bet so, for sure.
Yeah. I will say though, this summer has been way more mild than the last several years. Like yesterday, the high was what, 84, 86, and it was nice out. It was really nice out. And I started wondering that yesterday if there were going to be more outdoor things just because it's been a more tolerable summer.
So it has been a much more tolerable summer. So for those of you that haven't been to Austin that are now thinking about it or, think about leaving, a lot of it has to do with the weather, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lake Travis, one of our main staple lakes in Austin, Texas, has been very low for a little while. And so I just saw a report saying that after this week's rain, we should be up 10 more feet.
What?
I know. It's a lot. And if you go outside, it's not insta sweat. It's very humid, but it's not insta sweat, right? Because you're not sunburnt the second you're exposed.
Yeah.
And so it's cooled down, and we have more water coming right now, and it's the middle of July.
Thank God.
So I feel like that's going to impact things here in Austin. I feel like it. I hope it does.
I hope so. And I hope this trend continues at least for a couple of years, just because the last few summers we've had have been so obnoxiously hot, but then so very dry. And then we find ourselves in drought.
Well, and think about the people that relocated from one state to here, and they came here and we were in, let's say, a drought season and erratic real estate market.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does that make someone think? Subconsciously, psychologically, whatever. It's like, oh, am I ready for this? I'm going to go back. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really hit us pretty hard. And they didn't even get to experience any of the stuff that Austin was known for.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So they moved here for one opportunity, but missed out on a lot of the other cultural and entertainment benefits of being here.
I would agree. JJ, you look pensive.
Yeah, you do.
I was looking at the stats on heat. So this is the AI Google. Google's how hot does it get in Austin, Texas? It reads, Austin, Texas has long, hot summers with normal highs reaching 90 degrees Fahrenheit by May 26th and staying above that until September 23rd.
Yeah.
90? That's
96.
Cool.
And that's not including whatever other humidity and elements that may increase the way you feel the heat.
Right. May to August.
Yeah. If I'm outside, I try to be in water. That's just how if I can.
Yeah.
Hottest temperature in recent decades, 112 degrees Fahrenheit.
So do you think that's something that people should consider if they were going to move here? Like, can they handle the weather?
100%. Absolutely. And I think we probably all work with a lot of relocation clients.
Yep.
And a lot of the clients that I have are relocating either because they have to for work or because they sold something somewhere else and now they have the freedom to choose where they want to live. And they've got some cash to spend. And if they've not been here for either an extended amount of time or have been here at all, which I work with a lot of people like that, I make it a point to drive it home how obnoxiously and overwhelmingly hot it can get during the summer. And I think people a lot of times are like, oh, we like the heat. It's great. And I was like, no, it's like you can like fudge until you're about to drown in it. Then you don't like it so much. It's like, and that's kind of how heat is.
I was in a privileged position where I never had to worry about sunblock in my life. I mean, I should have. I know that's the right thing. But
in Chicago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just never thought about it because the melanin content, right? And for some reason, when I came to Texas, that was the first time I really felt like what a sunburn was. And I was like, oh no, this is unreal.
Yeah.
It's not good. So I pulled this up just because we had touched on it for the moment. So like in October, we'll have this ACL, Austin City Limits Music Festival. And I wanted to pull up the pricing because I don't know that people understand what's changed. So you're looking for a 3-day platinum badge. You're talking $6,000. I know. So Mark just said that. He said, at least they put no hidden fees down at the bottom. And you are absolutely right. Everything across the United States, Canada, and a lot of other countries has increased, right? It's not just Austin. It's not just the United States, but that is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Have you guys been to ACL lately?
No.
Okay. We went last year. I'm sorry. What?
Sorry, I just wanted to touch on. So in 2002, the 1-day pass for ACL. You ready for this? Give me a guess. Give me a guess. Without looking it up, give me a guess.
1-day pass?
1-day pass for ACL in 2002.
I'm going to say $45.
Oh, $4,500?
$45. No.
Oh, $45.
$45.
What do you think, JJ?
Yeah, I was thinking 75. So if I averaged ours out, it'd be like 60 or something.
$25.
GTFO.
Yeah, $25. So there has been a little bit of inflation here.
A little bit.
Just a tiny
I was
amount.
thinking those prices looked a little up there.
It's a little up there.
So
what were you saying, Daphne?
Oh, yeah. Last year, one of my friends actually, she had some extra tickets, so we got to go see Major Lazer. I think it was a Friday. It was a Friday night. And we love Major Lazer. We love EDM, like all that kind of vibe. And I had actually, after 14 years of living in Austin, I had never been to ACL, and this was my first experience. And it didn't feel like a super high-end, very exclusive thing at all. There were tons of kids there. And I mean, like college kids, high school kids. There was one point where we were just like dancing and jamming out, and a little girl, she must have been like 18, 19 years old. She took too much of I don't know what, and she fainted in front of me. So we all like had to like jump down and like revive her, and then we had to call the medics. Oh, and that kept happening. Like I told one of my girlfriends that. She's like, "Oh yeah, that happened to us like a couple days after." Or it was like, "Why is this the thing?" You know? Yeah, there were just like a lot of there were kids. I don't even want to say like young adults. They were kids. You could tell they were very much still like in school. And then there were also families there, which I thought was very odd. But did not have it. I go to festivals all the time, and we'll travel for this kind of stuff. And I like my boyfriend. I really like doing this kind of stuff, but it didn't feel like what was the day pass or like the weekend pass that you showed, like $700. Like it didn't feel like it was worth that to me. So
I have a weird question, kind of a segue into another topic. Here's my question. Do you feel like the way people say things in Texas are still scrutinized, or in Austin are still scrutinized?
Interesting.
Right? So like burn it versus Burnett.
Yes.
Like the wordplay, because it used to be where you could be like, "Oh, you're not from around here," and now it's almost just a carefree assumption. Oh, they're not from around. Nobody's from around here, right? And for me, being new at the time, I would learn the words. I'd be like, "Oh, I could tell they're not from around here because they didn't know the words."
Yep. Manor, Texas.
Manor, yes.
Grinning.
That's the correct word. Guadalupe.
Okay, one time, very long time ago, when I had first moved here, I was walking around downtown and I got a little turnaround. So I went to a gas station and I said, "Hey, can you help me find whatever it was I was looking for?" I says, "It's on 123 Guadalupe."
Yes.
And the guy's like, "Oh, you mean Guadalupe?" I was like, "Guadalupe." I grew up speaking Spanish. And I was like, why don't you say the A? Yeah. It's like they say in Canada, just say it here. Yeah. So that was a learning curve, and that was very weird for me.
Yeah, but then you never forgot it. And then anybody else who said it, you knew they weren't from here.
I still say Guadalupe. I refuse to say Guadalupe.
Well, but that's because you speak Spanish. That's different, right? But like you you still have to have that little bias, that cognitive bias. It's like, oh, and if you're
I
not
think,
speaking Spanish,
I
and
think
you're saying it,
if they say Guadalupe, I'm like, you know what you're saying. No, but I totally know what you're getting at. 100%. Yes, definitely. If things are pronounced incorrectly, then yeah, you definitely know that somebody doesn't
because
know.
it wasn't just words, it was also locations, like the drag.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't called the drag when I moved here. I just remember the history of people saying that. I was like, oh. JJ, did you call it the drag? I know you did.
I I remember when I first got to UT, I called it like the strip on accident, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
this guy just started laughing at me. He was like, "You think we're in Las Vegas or something? That's the drag." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I got it. Whatever."
I mean, but think about the choice of word. The word choice is intentional, I'm sure, right? Like, what else do you have?
So I have one.
Oh, what's that?
Oh, well, it's just kind of like a different topic on these things that like people should know about Austin. If we're ready to move on to another point, if not, then continue.
I'm going to throw one more out there because it came up and I hadn't seen it before, but I think it applies. And this is bad YouTube, no flags, okay? Die 35 instead of I-35. Have you heard people call it that?
No.
Okay. Have you heard of a lot of accidents on I-35?
Accidents.
And well, I guess what do you hear about I-35? Like I-35 is one of the main roads that cuts through the city center. And so it's almost always a topic of discussion when people are referring to traffic.
Yes.
A lot of times they're talking about I-35.
Right.
Yeah. And we've had this weird conundrum in Austin, Texas. We've had this weird kind of reality that people think that they can cross this highway. And it's happened a lot where people try to cross and then they don't make it. And it's a scary truth. And sometimes it's people that aren't in the right mental health state.
Mm-hmm.
And they just, and it's a big thing, but it's not common knowledge unless you're a local, I think.
It's interesting you say that because immediately when you said people try to cross 35, I'm thinking as a local, who in the world would ever even think of crossing I-35? There are bridges where you can walk over it.
Yep.
But it's so trafficked and so congested, and there are so many accidents that it's like crossing it on foot is completely out of the question for anybody that drives on it at all consistently. Yeah. I would imagine. That's my assumption.
Are you saying die 35 is what new people are saying or what old people are saying?
Well, I think it was something that was an older colloquial term that I hadn't heard. Kind of like Town Lake. Like I-35 was known as that, but I didn't know it because I came here after that name was popular.
Right. Like people call it Lady Bird Lake now when
correct. Yeah.
Old school people call it Town Lake.
And that's for now. It'll probably change again soon as everything's bought up by other companies.
You think it's going to get like corporate named?
There's that whole project to revitalize the area around Lady Bird Lake. Right. And so
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't know what that project name is, but it'll evolve and it'll become something else. And so now it's changed 3 times. Like Rainy Street, it might be called Rainy Street for now. It's not going to stay that way because it's not the same street.
It's not. Really not.
Right. And this just goes back to our topic, which is this is important for people to know. Like if you do want to preserve a culture or if you don't mind the culture changing, it's good to hear the history of the reason why most people moved here and the things that they're used to from living here in the past. Because a lot of people might move here and not understand where the word Guadalupe came from. Like, why is it called that?
Why is it called that? Do you know why?
No, I don't. Oh, no. I'm going to say no.
And it didn't. Yeah.
You know the 12 streets, right? Downtown?
Yeah, but what does that have to do with Guadalupe?
So north to south are like the numbered streets. And then it's the Texas rivers.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Red
you have
River.
like your Trinity, Nueces, Colorado,
Yep.
Yeah.
and I
Yeah,
believe
but
there's
what does that
12
have
of
to do
them.
with the Guadalupe being called that specifically?
Because the Guadalupe River is a prominent river.
Yeah, but it's the Guadalupe River, like you
I
just
know,
said. It's not the Guadalupe River.
Oh, Guadalupe is the Texas. Like,
I think it's the Americanization of it.
yeah, like Manor.
Manor was a dude's name.
But it's a,
Manor.
or is it because it's like like an estate, like a manor?
No, that's the French word is a manor. Manor is some guy's name, and it probably had something to do with, I'm going to use the term colonization. It probably had something to do with migratory patterns, and then they just adopted the name, sure, but they said it their way because languages, and now it's Manor. But it ended up being somebody's name.
Oh, it is a James B. Manor. I don't know. Is he French?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can make. Yeah, let's just go with.
But I was thinking
I don't think it's directly related to the French word. There's probably a couple layers in there.
I thought it was because real estate is like some creek or some round rock, like it's always some piece of land, like a state.
Well, that's because that's actually a really good topic, a really good point. So round rock, it's because of the whole, like Texas is still on the meets and bounds system for real estate. And it's like, what do you see over there? A rock? Okay. And then going to what? A stick and a tree? That tree's 100 years old. It's not going anywhere. So they're like, draw lines. Boom. There's your survey. That's what it is. It's so ridiculous. It's not like longitudinal and latitudinal. Yeah, longitudinal and latitudinal. Let's just say yes. Let's go with it. If I made that up, sorry.
The Guadalupean of the word.
Yeah, I love it.
I just think it's a Spanish word name in a very American state. And Guadalupe was probably just a lot of work for folks to say in the day. It's like tortillas, right? Like tortillas, flautas, like
tortillas.
Yeah, tortillas.
Yeah.
It's just people don't know and things stick.
The spelling too, right? Like LUPE, Americanized would just be like loop.
Yeah.
Guadalupe.
Yeah. Yeah.
JJ, I thought you were going to pull out some tribal knowledge about how Guadalupe loops around this section of the city, and that's how it came up with the name. I was like, oh, love that. But no.
Actually, I think it's phonetic because, like in Spanish, everything's very phonetically written.
Yes, it is.
And so in English, the E is oftentimes silent at the end of a word, like cove. You don't say COVID. COVID, hey.
Right? Yeah, it's just a Texas.
Hope.
A Texas
Hope.
Thing.
Yeah.
Hope.
It might just be, lack of knowing.
Yeah, it's just phonetics.
So you had another topic you wanted to switch to, Daphne. What was that?
Yeah, kind of switch. Not a full 360, but I think, I don't know. Okay, so JJ, maybe this doesn't apply to you because you grew up in Texas, but Ian and I both came from the North. You came from Chicago. I came from Minneapolis. And I guess I'll start asking.
Do you consider yourself from the Midwest?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
I mean, technically, sure. But like me as a person, no. I don't identify as a Midwesterner, so to speak.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. But I lived there for a while, so a very long while. So question, I guess, more for Ian, and JJ, feel free to jump in. But before you moved to Austin or Texas, what did you imagine people wore?
Oh, I love that question. I love that question.
Cool.
Oh, I guess I should answer, huh?
Please.
I'll be clear. I visited Austin before I decided to move. So I spent a week here. But before I visited, I had this whole perception of tumbleweeds, cowboy hats, Spurs, but thinking, well, maybe Spurs aren't modern enough and they don't wear those anymore, but they still had the boots.
Boots with the Spurs.
Yeah, but a modern version of it. So not like OG cowboy Western style, but some kind of modern version. I figured Austin was the cool place that modernized the cowboy look. That was my assumption, never having come here. And it being the capital of Texas. I'm like, it's the capital. It's got to have some cool stuff.
Absolutely.
You know,
What do you think, Daphne?
It's going to be very Texan. And I actually, and this is a scary truth, I had no intent. I was like, I don't even want to think about moving to Texas originally. That was my thought.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those partner conversations. And she goes, well, how do you know? And I was like, dang it, I hate that. You're right. Because I need to not, I don't like being judgmental or being presumptuous. So I said, well, let's go visit. Let's go spend some time there. And I had some friends here, and we did. And I had been to a lot of places, but I hadn't been to Texas. And then I also went to all the other cities too, all the major cities. And I was like, no, Austin's cool. I like it. But they don't look like I thought they would.
Yeah.
Austin people.
Yeah. And the cities, maybe.
There was a lot of variety in people, which was kind of interesting.
A lot of what? You cut out.
Variety is the word I'm going to use.
In regarding to what?
Everything.
Like
literally everything. It's like even cuisine. Right? It's not Houston, don't get me wrong, but there was a lot of choices in cuisine. It wasn't only Tex-Mex. Right? There was a lot of Tex-Mex, but it wasn't only that. Right? And I'm coming from a place where food was prominent, varieties in different cuisine styles and cultural styles. So it was nice to see that on a smaller scale. Because I never would have expected that of Texas. I was like, they're not going to have good food. Even though I read it says they have good food. I was impressed.
Yeah. My assumption was very similar to yours. I came to Austin kind of on a whim when I was 21. It was like I had 3 days to get ready to come down. And the intention wasn't necessarily to move here. But I was like, well, it's the capital of Texas. I'd never been to Texas, and Texas is the most American state you can find. So I figured this is going to be like, just like Ian said, cowboy boots, cowboy hats, maybe spurs, maybe not, jeans, people rolling around on horses from time to time. And that is just so not the reality of it. Wearing cowboy boots just for fun, unless you're on a farm when it's 100 degrees outside, is absolute nonsense. I could not. And it's funny because like I go to the Domain a lot, and I just mostly like to walk around there either in the mornings or the evenings. It could be Monday, it could be a Saturday, whenever. I just love to be out and about because it's clean there. And a lot of times I'll see girls that you can tell they're from out of town because they're there for like a bachelorette party, and one of them has a bride sash, and they're all wearing freaking cowboy boots. And I'm like, you're not from here. People from here don't wear that.
Well, so what would you describe? I'm curious what you do see. Like, is there an Austin fashion sense that you observe?
Of course. Yeah. So, I mean, we have such a strong tech community. And there's so many tech dudes. There's women in tech too, but generally there is a uniform, kind of what like Ian and I are wearing. It's like t-shirt and jeans, or t-shirt and like really nicely tailored fitness pants, and just this very laid back attitude. And I remember when I first moved here, I was surprised by how casual everybody is all the time. And I would tell my mom, like, you can go into a bar and there's secret millionaires everywhere wearing like cutoff shorts and flip-flops. And that was, and it still kind of is the vibe in that regard.
It is. There were a lot of hairstyle. There were a lot of man buns for a while. And then the manicured beards. That was a big thing. That's a big, big thing.
The hipster.
And I was on a podcast one time, and I remember one of the guys saying something like, he said he didn't like it, but he was referring to Austin, and now everybody's wearing Allbirds, eating avocado toast, walking around with their golden doodles. He said like that line, and I thought, oh man, that's South Congress at the very least. South Congress in Austin.
Yeah.
It was kind of
I
interesting.
will say,
It was a
y'all are
reflection moment.
definitely, you're definitely describing the metropolitan.
Yes, absolutely.
As someone that grew up like an hour north, you could find traces of that. It's not like everybody's wearing the cowboy boots, but they'll be, and I didn't grow up on a farm or anything, but I would have like friends of friends that, you know, the cowboy boots, some denim, cowboy hat once in a while. You know, there's even some like formal cowboy boots and like a jacket and a hat.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, and the big belt buckles with some, and those
The
are
belt
expensive. Some
buckles.
of them. Wow.
Absolutely. I think you see that more in like right outside of Dallas,
Yeah.
where there's oil in like
Oh yeah.
right outside of
That
Houston.
too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rural Texas is very
Texas.
polarizing. Yeah. Yeah. There's like real rural Texas. And then city Texas starts to, well, at least city Austin is
Austin. I mean,
its
yeah,
own thing.
Houston's like that too. Well, in some regards, right? And when you get deep into the city of whichever metro you're in, it's more. It just has more of a city feel.
I bet San Antonio. I don't do enough like observation in San Antonio. This is a guess. I think they probably have a Tex-Mex. It's a Hano thing.
Yeah, they do. But what I've seen more when I haven't been to San Antonio in almost a year, my God. But I used to go a lot. And I would go to, because I dance, social dance is my thing. And the girls would dress up. Like they were there in little dresses and their hair was done. And here you show up in your tennis shoes and your little shorts because it's more of like a practical thing. But yeah, the girls at these dance events would make an effort. And so would the dudes. They'd come in, their hair done and their beards trimmed up. Cute little outfits. It was just, presentation was different. Yep.
Do you think people need to think about that if they're coming here? Do you think that's an important consideration? Like, or I guess the better question is, do you think people would have the same expectations that we did when we were thinking of coming here?
Absolutely. Yes.
Right? Because so like right now, I remember there was that show, I think it was last year, it was called 20 somethings on Netflix. Right? But did they have the same thoughts that we did when we were coming here? You know, like, oh, everybody's going to be in cowboy boots. And that's why you're seeing the bachelorette parties and everything where they're dressed that way, because they think it's appropriate for being in Austin.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with people in Austin having golden doodles, Mark.
Oh, what makes you say that?
Golden doodles.
Yin.
He said, "Watch out for the golden doodle owners." JJ, do you have any pets?
No, unfortunately not.
What do you mean, unfortunately? Okay, it's just a question. You Daphne? Do you have any?
They seem like cool things to have. I just never had them.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think that's cultural?
My mom. Yeah. I think it was more like a maintenance thing. I know a lot of people in my culture have pets. My mom didn't want to maintain a dog or anything.
That's fair. We foster kittens, so yeah. So we'll have kittens from time to time. Usually have 2 at a time, and we'll get them when they're itty bitty little chunky things, and when they're about 10 weeks old, then we adopt them out to their forever home.
That's cool. I have so many questions on how you're finding the forever home, like all the other elements related to it, but that's a different conversation. This question from Mark, he says, oh, I'm getting a call. Sorry about
that.
Hello. Mark says, how far do you have to get from Austin to be considered rural now? Georgetown, Temple? What are your thoughts on that? Right? Because a lot of people do think Austin, but then Austin isn't where their focus is, or they end up, shifting to one of the suburbs for whatever reason. 100 reasons.
Yeah. I mean, Austin might be, I don't know, 20% rural. This is me just guessing. And then Round Rock is probably 50% suburban, 50% rural.
Well, they talk about, I mean, on ABOR, the Austin Board of Realtors, it's Austin, Round Rock, MSA service area. So they kind of bundle them together. So I don't think, say it again. Daphne?
I think that's interesting. Just really quick, because Round Rock, Austin, Round Rock, that's just north and south. But then there's like
Right.
other smaller suburbs that are right there. Like Pflugerville is actually between Round Rock and Austin. Like,
Yeah, but
so I
they're like,
wonder-
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I
Yeah.
think what happened is Round Rock gained in a lot of popularity,
Mhm.
and it was something they can latch onto for marketing purposes. I honestly think that was it.
That sounds very realistic.
As soon
Absolutely.
as that article from, I want to say, Forbes came out that said Round Rock was the 4th safest city in the entire United States.
Really?
As soon as that came out, everything was, oh, Round Rock, and I had people like that had houses in Round Rock that I knew in Chicago, and they're like, oh man, can I sell it? What do you think? And I'm thinking, what? How did you have a house here? We've never even talked about this. What? So anyway,
That's so funny. When was
I
that article?
think economically too, like economically, Dell being headquartered in Round Rock
yes.
in hardware, like computer hardware in the 90s to the 2000s, that could, like Austin, Round Rock, Dell, I-35 too as a thoroughfare.
I-35.
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 Put Round Rock on the map, so to speak.
It was a major employer in a time where, silicon chips, hardware, computers, IT were all very, very prominent. So yeah, and then you think about it, a lot of the other companies that are still coming here, so like Apple's still doing things here, Samsung's building their chip. It's all still kind of colloquially. It's all still in proximity to Round Rock. I think a lot of people think about that. How easily can I get to Round Rock?
Yeah.
Which is important if you're thinking about relocating here and you're looking for an area or like an area to land.
Yeah.
That's a really good consideration. It really depends on what you want to do. And not just where you're going to work directly, but where all the other companies that if this one doesn't work out, well, what's my next company?
Sorry. May I say something? I don't like cutting people off, you guys.
I love that. I really do. I love that about you. And I feel the same way. But this is a conversation. Please, let's just chat,
Cool. When earlier in my career in real estate, I used to work with a lot of IT guys. I've been licensed for 12 years in November. And when I was maybe like 6-7 years in, I had a lot of guys that were relocating to Austin that were mid to late 20s, sometimes early 30s. They were single. And they were always working at these big IT campuses. So many of them were like Samsung, and then sometimes Dell, Apple. And they would ask me, obviously given the budget that they had, it was always kind of a similar budget because they were all kind of making the same amount of money. Where can I be? And then where can I be that's going to be close to work if I end up leaving Apple or Samsung or whatever? And Northeast Austin was always the spot because there's Tech Ridge over there. Obviously, Samsung is right there. And then General Motors used to have a software development campus over there. I think they still do. So does Home Depot, and then HDI or anyway, HID. Why was I telling you that? Hold on,
Location.
I was going. Because everything's north. Everything's north. There are several that are on the south side, but I'd say probably 70% of the IT businesses and campuses are going to be on the north side.
Well, there was Oracle, and they're announcing a shift to Nashville, right? And so they were on Riverside.
Wait, just to be clear, they changed the actual international headquarters again.
Did they?
Is that
from Austin to Nashville? Let me verify that.
I heard that somewhere too, and I thought, no way. So I think it's an interesting thing to talk about.
I heard something.
Well, the thing is, we hear a lot of stuff, and then it doesn't end up
1,000% of the time.
Yeah. So April 2024, Oracle said they are moving their headquarters from Austin to Nashville, Tennessee. I don't see a timeline, but to Nashville, they'll bring about 8,500 jobs and another $1 billion over a decade.
Okay.
So the new offices will be open and operating by 2030.
If they stay there, if they even
go, right? So
go.
now you have all the Elon Musk companies that are now coming full force into Austin, and Oracle is getting ready to take the leap. But then you also have Samsung that's pumping money. Their factory is about to open this year, right?
Yeah.
And Dell and Apple and all these others. So it's like Oracle might say, well, should we leave?
Right. Honestly, even if you do, somebody else will probably come in.
Well, the question is, why would they leave? But I also want to just answer Mark's question because none of us actually answered it.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me what you think about this. So he said, how far do you have to get into Austin to be rural? Georgetown, Temple. I think that it's no longer considered the Austin area once you're heading towards Gerald.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. If you're referring to north, once you're heading toward Gerald, but you can be rural in many of the suburbs. Pflugerville has so many rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, how did I end up on this street, this gravel road? I'm surprised all the time. Leander, Liberty Hill, everywhere.
I think Pflugerville is an interesting one because it does have a very rural feel in parts, and then other portions of Pflugerville feel very city because you're right there. There's literally a portion of Wells Branch Parkway, which becomes Pecan, and 35, and that's literally one side of it is Pflugerville, and the other side, one side of 35 is Pflugerville, the other side is Austin proper.
Yes, yeah.
And you're right there in the middle of everything. So yeah,
Just
it's someone with Round Rock.
Pflugerville does the same thing with Round Rock too, where there's a border and you're like, which city are you in?
Yeah.
You go to Pflugerville schools, but you feel like you're in Round Rock.
Here's a real estate question, and this is super rural, and I think it's interestingly located around Tesla, north of the airport, east of Austin, directly. Del Valley. Do you see anything going on in Del Valley?
A billion things. That's where the new headquarters for not Twitter, SpaceX is gonna go, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's moving,
and that's where Tesla Gigafactory is, right? And then they're expanding.
Yeah, I don't know about the space stuff because he splits different. There's the other space spot.
Yeah.
Well, the launch pad's in Houston or near Houston, but the offices are going to be here. But anyway, all that to say, Del Valley. What I remember, I think I interviewed the principal of one of the schools, something weird like that, because I wanted to know, right? I want to see what's happening. And Del Valley, I think, was the school that had the like a robotics arm.
Really?
And this was pre-pandemic. This was a while ago. And they were just doing so many things to build up the future. And I think that's one of the reasons why Del Valley ended up being where Tesla landed. Because it was a lot of rural land. Nobody wanted to build on it because there was a giant dump, an airport, a racetrack, and a lot of the land was swampy. And you had to worry about the floodplain, right? And so people weren't building out there. That wasn't the nice area, but it's perfect for a factory, which is what they did.
Yeah, like it's like
factory.
industrial and
factory stuff. People that work in factories need houses. And so then business grows and HEB and all these other places end up coming. Yeah.
I see where you're going with that.
Yeah, it's a lot. So what was the particular question about Del Valley, I guess, is what I was asking.
Oh, that's what I was asking. Like, what potential do you see out there? Is it always going to be that rural? I mean, it's going to be rural for a while, but just curious, like what developments you think might be there.
I don't know. I think to see like a big change in Del Valley, they have to get an HEB plus because there's literally nothing out there except a couple gas stations.
I think there's an HEB planned, which is, you're right, necessary. In Texas, so for those of you who are not currently in Austin and you're thinking about coming to Austin or considering it, right? If a city does not have an HEB, it's not a city.
It's a lost cause.
We don't recognize it as a city. You might say, but it has a Randall's, and I might say, and?
That ain't Texas. You walk into the Randall's, go, this ain't Texas.
I'll tell you what.
The only people that say Randall's is better or they love their Randall's are the people that live in Westlake. I'm not saying anything about that. That's what I've learned.
I don't know. The Westlake HEB is super nice.
Sure. Or I said Westlake. I meant Terrytown. Terrytown Randall's is like that is the place for people in Terrytown to go.
They just opened up, I think, their new HEB.
Yeah, they did like a year and a half ago. It is a whole experience.
I haven't gone in. I've driven by.
We've been there. Yeah, we were there. We were at Cafe Mozart one night and it got late, and then my boyfriend was hungry, so we went to HEB. The one on, what is that, River Lake Austin Drive?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and he got some sushi at like 11 o'clock at night.
All right, I'm gonna check it
It
out.
was-
Just 'cause you
it
said
was
that.
great.
What's the HEB offshoot? 360 Market, Corner Market? What was it?
Central Market.
Central Market. There you go. Central Market. That's an Austin thing. That place is
Glorious.
awesome. I
Yes,
love
it
it.
is.
I didn't
And
know that.
you didn't know that, really? Yeah.
You're the most Austinite here.
It's surprising though, because like a Whole Foods or something, you forget all these great things are from here.
Yes.
Yeti.
Yeti.
Yeah.
I was at Yeti this afternoon buying a present for a client, and that's a whole experience too.
It
Oh,
is.
Yeti. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like their shop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, the thing about Central Market is, just like HEB is so involved in the community, Central Market makes such an effort to bring the community together. There's always events there, and you can actually find live music there on weekends. It's all sorts of different things. Sometimes they have blues, sometimes they have Latin band. Every bands are like just from around the world. It's really, really lovely.
It's pretty awesome.
It
Y'all
is.
ever been to the Cathedral of Junk?
Yeah.
Or the it's called the Hope Outdoor Gallery, but it was the graffiti park before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those were very Austin things. Well,
They were.
outdoor gallery, the graffiti park was a very Austin thing that they have not reopened that I know of. I was really upset. Like, that was a place that you can go. Art was just allowed to be done by anybody in the public. There was just spray paint cans sitting around, and you could just go spray. I would take clients that had never been to Austin, or people that had never been to Austin, and be like, "Oh, let's go here," and we would just go spray paint for an hour.
That is so cute. I'm trying to see. I have a picture of the graffiti park from forever ago. Anyway.
Yeah, that was cool.
All right, we're coming up on time. JJ, what do you think? What do you think?
I think if you're
this
watching
been a good
this,
discussion for what people need to know about Austin, I guess is the question.
yeah, I liked where we left off the other episode where we talked about a lot of things and respect the culture. If you're moving here, if you're from here, if you've been here for a little bit, remember to check out what Austin was. You don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. Yeah. So I always encourage people to check that stuff out. Even me myself, maybe I need to take a trip to the Capitol or something. Or
we all do. Yeah. And especially if you travel, it's like when you leave, even if you're just leaving the state, right? Like wherever you're going, it's going to be different. And I think taking the time to really observe what's going on and respect what was there prior is really, really important.
Daphne.
Yes.
Mark says, welcome. We got to take you out to coffee.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that.
Very much, Mark.
Oh.
Talking about tips.
Speaking of coffee, that'll be my little ad. I remember when I was coming to visit before I moved here, and I needed coffee real bad. And one of my friends, she goes, I said, well, let's go get some coffee. Is there a Starbucks or something? And she looked at me. She said, you're in Austin. Do not go to Starbucks. You have far too many more choices. And ever since then, I've taken that to heart. And don't get me wrong, I still stop by Starbucks because it's if I need a place and I know I need XYZ, like a certain kind of environment or Wi-Fi or something like that, then I might. But most of the time, I look for a non-Starbucks brand because I truly believe that if we focus on helping the local community and the local businesses like that, it keeps the culture alive. So like Genuine Joe's was one of the first coffee places I had gone to. Genuine Joe's
Anderson
on
Lane.
Burnett.
No, it's Burnett and Anderson.
Yeah, on Anderson.
Yeah, okay.
That was one of the first coffee places outside of Starbucks that I had come to. And I was like, this place is cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
You don't drive your car through there because potholes, but gosh, it was just a cool vibe. What do you like? It's for real, man. That place is scary. You gotta go slow.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, we should go to Genuine Joe's to thank Mark.
Let's do it.
I love it. Daphne, what about you? What's your closing thought?
What is my closing thought? I feel like evolution and change is just part of, it's just natural, whether you're talking about actual physical natural beings out in the wild or like cultures, society, economics. These things are bound to happen. And I understand that culture and some norms may change with the growth that we've been having. I just feel like it's happened very quickly. And I hope, like, I've kind of made it a little bit of a mission to just make sure that people like remember the old Austin and hang on to some of that, because that is what made Austin so great. And we should at least, even if the buildings change and the people, you know, come and go and change, we should still hang on to our culture and like the true heart of what made Austin Austin. That's my closing thoughts.
I'm very much with you. Oh my God, 1,000 people calling today. Yeah, I do like the area. I think it's one of those places that I don't want to ever have to leave. I mean, obviously, I might be in a situation where I'll visit other places and spend more time, a couple months here or there. But long term, I really like this place. Clean Girl goes, I love Austin. Don't we all?
She goes, I heart Austin. Let's see if it comes up.
She hearts it. All right. Keep Austin weird, y'all. See you in the next episode. What are we talking about next time, JJ? I don't know. We'll figure it out. See everybody there. Wait, what?
TBD, to be determined.
Oh, that is not what I heard. Let's blame it on my internet.